You know that person who, without even trying, becomes the center of attention everywhere they go? Everyone's drawn to them, laughing at their stories, laughing at their jokes. They just have a magnetic pull to their personality that you just can't really put a finger on. That's charisma. It's that special spark that people have that draws others to them, that makes others want to follow them, that makes others want to be around them. In today's video, I'm gonna share with you 10 simple tips that I applied and I've taught many others to apply that has made them instantaneously more charismatic, that has taken them from someone who was maybe socially awkward, who wasn't able to connect with others, who wasn't able to get attention or draw others to them, to be the complete opposite. And that's the good news about this. Yes, some people are born with charisma. Yes, some people have a naturally higher EQ. Yes, some people are naturally better with in social settings than others are. But the truth is, charisma and social skills are things that anyone and everyone can develop. Some may just have a higher baseline that they're starting from. Some just might have a lower baseline. But if you practice enough, if you put yourself out there enough, if you do the right things enough, you can become just as charismatic as anyone else. My name is Nima Attar, and I started a business in the financial industry when I was 23 years old, and within 5 years it was paying me 7 figures in income. And I can tell you right now, one of the things that I learned early on was that when all is equal, people do business with people that they like. That's why this topic of charisma is so important for me, and it's one that I practiced for so long and developed in myself, because I knew that was going to be a winning edge that I could develop within myself that my competitors maybe weren't willing to. And the 10 tips that I'm going to share with you here is the exact same ones that I share with everyone in my organization to help them develop in this area as well. But it's so important that you watch all the way to the end, because the last 3 tips are extremely important in making the first 7 tips possible and effective. Tip number 1, be more interested than interesting. Many of us believe that if you're interesting, if you have cool stories, if you're talking the whole time and telling people cool things, that's what's gonna get them to like you. Actually, it's the complete opposite. People like when people listen to them. People like when people are interested in them. People love people that are willing to give attention to them and are curious in them. And what I found in my own interactions in my life is that the interactions where I listen the most and ask good questions and take a genuine interest in the other person ends up being the most interesting conversation for that individual. And not only do they find the conversation more interesting, not only do they like me more at the end of it, but I didn't have to do much work for it at all. I didn't have to come up with these crazy, adventurous, cool stories. I just had to listen to their cool stories. And I learned more by doing that, because you learn more by listening than you ever do by talking. And I was able to develop that relationship at a much closer level, because here's what's rare. Finding someone who genuinely listens to you and gives you genuine attention from a point of curiosity. Here's what's not rare. People that love talking about themselves and go on and on and on about their life. So if you want to be more attractive, here's one easy tip. Be more interested than interesting. Here's tip number 2. Learn to love yourself. You can't expect others to love you if you don't love yourself first. You can't expect someone else to like you if you don't like yourself first. So one of the traits that all charismatic people have is they actually feel confident within themselves. They have high self-esteem and they love themselves. And because they have that, they can attract other people to them, because people go, man, if they love themselves so much, there must be something to love. And also they think, I want to have that feeling that they have about themselves within myself. So naturally you become more attractive. So that's tip number 2. Develop your self-esteem, develop the love within yourself, and it's a lot easier to get it from others in that way. And here's the good news. Even if they don't love you back, even if they don't like you back, the fact that you love yourself and like yourself is good enough. You don't need their external validation. And in a weird way, that makes them want to give you more validation. Here's tip number 3, authenticity. And here's why it's such an important tip. Because the more authentic you are to who you actually are, the more you put the people around you at ease to be who they are as well. See, when you're trying to be something you're not, when you're faking it, it's easy to overthink, right? It's easy to get insecure. But if you're just who you are and you love yourself for who you are, it's easy to just be you. And when you're just you, other people feel confident just being themselves around you as well, because they don't feel as judged. And you know what's an easy way to show how authentic you are is by not taking yourself too seriously. When you mess up, when you misspeak, when you do something wrong, call yourself out for it. Make a joke about it. Learn to laugh at yourself. And when you do, the people around you go, wow, what a cool person. They have no problem making mistakes. They have no problem making errors. They have no problem even being awkward. And then they feel more comfortable around you in that way. I remember I had a session 2 weeks ago and I was doing this training in front of 500 people. And there was a point that I was making and I said, hey, there's 6 things here. And after 3 things, I got stuck. And the last 3 things I forgot. And it was pretty obvious that I had forgotten what I was going to say because I got stuck. Now, I could have tried to play it off. I could have faked it so that I don't seem like somebody who forgets things and I seem like a perfect speaker and a perfect trainer. But instead, you know what I did? I took it as an opportunity to show people it's okay to fail, to show people it's okay to make mistakes. And instead I said, hey everyone, just so you know, I forgot the last 3 things I was gonna say. And I turned to one of the people in the crowd. I said, if somebody remembers what I was gonna say, because I've taught this before, please raise your hand. And a lovely lady in the front said, hey, I know what you were gonna say. And they said it off. And I said, thank you so much. Everyone had a good laugh. I was able to teach the lesson I was gonna teach anyways. But the most important lesson that I was able to teach in that moment is, Nima doesn't take himself too seriously. Nima's not perfect. So it's okay that we're not perfect and we love being in this environment. So being authentic allows other people to be authentic. Be authentic makes other people feel comfortable. And making others feel comfortable is one of the key traits that charismatic people have. Here's tip number 4. Compliment, 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 compliment. And when you think you've complimented them enough, compliment them even more. So few people actually give genuine compliments to others. And I'm not talking about flattery here. I'm talking about a genuine compliment. What's the difference? Flattery is when you just say something to someone because you think it sounds good. A compliment is when you genuinely see something in them that they also know they have within themselves and call it out for it. Meaning if you see someone who's hardworking, you say, hey man, you're such a hardworking person. And because that person knows it's true about them, they take it as a genuine compliment. You know why this is so important? Because no one really compliments anyone. You might be thinking, well, why is that? Because we're all so insecure. We have such big egos that we think that if we compliment someone else, it means something negative about us. And also, because we're so insecure, we never compliment ourselves, so we have a hard time complimenting others. But one of the traits that charismatic people have within them, one of the traits that I developed within myself, is that I have a very easy time complimenting others, and that makes people attracted to me because they feel seen when they're around me. They feel recognized when they're around me, so they want to be around me more. And this is such an easy thing to do. And I tell you what, if you start developing this as a practice, you'll find it's so easy to compliment everyone. You might be thinking, well, Nima, I know some people that I can't compliment. Impossible. Because I can even compliment a homeless person. And by the way, no disrespect to a homeless person. I mean, I don't think they're watching because they probably don't have access to internet. But the point that I'm making here is even a homeless person you can compliment because you can see how resilient they are. You can see how much it takes for them to survive day in, day out in that lifestyle. And I can see that because I always look for the great qualities in everyone, no matter how low they are in their life at the moment that I'm seeing them, which I'm sure a homeless person is at the rock bottom of their life. But even in that person, I can go up to them and say, hey, you're such a resilient person. And the fact that every day you wake up and live the life you live and you keep going, that shows a level of persistence that many people lack. Good for you. Isn't that true? Isn't that genuine? 100% it is. Well, why can I see that? Because my reticular activation system is tuned to find the positive qualities in others because I tuned it to see the positive qualities in me first. Tip number 5. Don't be sensitive to what other people say to you or think about you. I'm a very sensitive person by nature. I'm a very emotional person by nature. And the most powerful people that I've met in my life, the most successful people that I've met in their life are also sensitive and emotional. That's where a lot of the power comes from. But when I'm talking about tip number 5 here, is I'm talking about not being sensitive to what other people say about you or think about you. Because nothing is a bigger turnoff than being around someone who every little thing pisses them off or upsets them. You know what I'm basically saying here? I'm basically saying don't be a Karen. Now, if your name is Karen, I'm sure you're a wonderful person. I'm talking about the meme analogy that people make nowadays of that overly sensitive person who every little thing you say to them, they freak out and they make a huge commotion of. That's what I mean by don't be a Karen. Because here's the thing, that's so unattractive because now people feel like they have to walk on eggshells around you. They feel like, oh my God, if I say one thing wrong around this person, I'm going to be schooled on political correctness and I'm going to be put in my place and I'm going to feel bad about myself. And no one wants to be around that type of person because they're like, oh my God, I'm one word away from an explosion. I'm one word away from World War III. But when you're someone that's the opposite of that, where people can be easy around you, they can make jokes, they can have a good laugh, knowing that you're not going to take it seriously, knowing that you have no problem laughing at yourself, they feel attracted to you. They feel like they want to be around you because they can actually be themselves and speak their mind without having to think about it 20 times because, oh my God, God forbid you get offended. So please take tip number 5 in a good way. If you're someone who got offended by tip number 5, you need tip number 5 more than anyone else. Take it easy. Life's not that serious. You're not that big of a deal. Neither am I. We're just a bunch of people who are doing our best, who want to live our best life. Here's tip number 6, smile. I know it sounds easy, but it's not always easy. Even me, myself, I'm someone that can get intense sometimes and I can go a while before smiling. What I've learned is the more you smile, the more open the conversation is, the more inviting it is. And smiling is like yawning. When you do it, other people naturally want to do it around you and it makes everyone feel better. Tip number 7, body language and tonality. And here's where I'm going with this. You have to have congruent body language and tonality. Meaning, if you're happy, demonstrate happiness with the way you move your body and the way you smile and the way your facial reaction is. If you're sad or want to show sadness, make sure your tonality and body language is congruent. Nothing is more unattractive and weird than someone who's talking about good news, but they seem like they're unhappy while sharing it. Yeah, so I just won the lottery. What? That makes no sense. If you win the lottery, you should say, I just won the lottery. It's got to be congruent, and congruency creates charisma. So make sure you have the right body language and the right tonality for the right occasion. Tip number 8, have empathy. Here's what I mean by this. Acknowledge other people's points of view and other people's opinions, even especially if it's different from yours. So many of us get into nonsense arguments and become argumentative people because we don't like to see things from other points of view. We think that our point of view is the only correct one and we keep trying to bash others with it. Instead, if you want to be a more charismatic and likable person, listen to other people, understand where they're coming from, and if you want to share your point of view, don't share it in an argumentative way, share it in a collaborative way. Nima, how do I do that? Very simple. Let's say somebody shares an opinion with you that you disagree with. You can say, hey, I can totally see why you would see it that way. Are you okay with me sharing with you how I see things? And I'm totally okay if you don't change your mind after I share it, but I just think it's so valuable that I got your perspective and you might gain value from having my perspective. When you go into it that way, the person doesn't get defensive, the person doesn't get offended, and you can have a collaborative conversation, not an argumentative one. Tip number 9, have a positive attitude. Here's what that means. It means having a positive perspective on the things that you can't control. Because a lot of times we hear positive attitude and they immediately think, oh, we're going to Kumbaya land or delusion land. No. We're going to the land of seeing the best in everything, especially the things we can't control. I'll give you a quick example of this. Let's say it's raining. I can have a negative attitude towards the rain and say, oh, it's raining again. I can't believe it. I wanted to enjoy the sun. Or I can have a positive attitude and say, oh my God, it's raining. I preferred it if it was sunny, but I love how beautiful the rain is. And I love the fact that we get to enjoy this because there's probably places around the world that they wish it was raining right now where it's super sunny and too hot. That's a positive attitude in an area that I can't control. And the reason it's important is because when you share that perspective, other people who might have been looking at it negatively can now see it positively. And it makes them feel better and they associate feeling better with being around you, because you're a positive person with a positive attitude. And here's the last tip, and it's the most important one in my opinion. Be present in the moment and enjoy it. So many of us, especially in social interactions, get in our head. We overthink, we feel insecure. We think, is this gonna be awkward? Is this weird? Should I make this joke? Should I not? And it kills your whole charisma and it kills your whole vibe. Just practice being present in the moment. Enjoy it for what it is. Get out of your head and get in the moment. And that will make you more charismatic than anything else. And here's another thing. When you're not in the moment, when you're in your head, when you're thinking about something else, when you're in the past or in the future, people can notice it. And they feel off. They feel like you're not paying attention to them. They feel like they're not worth you being in the moment with them. So that's why it's so important. Because the whole point of charisma is about how you make others feel when they're around you. And if you can make them feel good by being in the moment and being there with them, they'll want to be around you all the time and they want to listen to you all the time. Here's my last recommendation before you go. Watch my other YouTube video, 10 traits that all likable people have. I'm going to put the link on it right at the end here before I go off. But the reason I want you to watch that is because I share a few more tips in that video that I didn't share in this one that can not only make you a more charismatic person, but also someone who gets along with others and develops better relationships with them. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Share this with anyone else you think that could get value from it. Comment below what was your favorite tip out of the 10. And last but not least, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so you get notified every time I have a new video. Thank you. Bye-bye.